Darren Waller is in the news again for several reasons, one regarding his personal life and another regarding his career. There's been a lot of smoke around what this guy is going to do with the New York Giants this year, but I want people to remember there was a moment in time, especially when Darren Waller was playing for the Las Vegas Raiders, where people thought the sky was the limit. People thought this guy could really take off and do something special. And what we're witnessing right now is Darren Waller's downfall. I hate to say it. We are witnessing the downfall of Darren Waller. There are some reports coming out right now that his wife, the NBA star Kelsey Plum, has filed for divorce. She is divorcing Darren Waller. There have been so many reports speculating as to why, and we're going to talk about what could be leading to this sports power couple splitting up. It's in particular sad when you see where this guy was heading in his career. Because you know what? I don't like to forget the glory days. And I feel like people in the world focus so much on the negative and just forget any positive that any person ever did.
Best tight end in the league. I step out on the field, I think I'm the best tight end in the league.
I've said it before, I don't know if I've said it to you, but I'd take him out of any of the tight ends. And I know Kittle and Kelsey are as good as they get. And Waller's right up there with them. It's astonishing what this man can do.
If I could tell our rookies or our young guys one thing, I say, guys, just watch Darren Waller. You want to know what it takes to make it in this league? Just watch that man go about his business.
So keep in mind, just going through Darren Waller's career, he's on the Ravens practice squad. He has a problem with substance abuse. He is abusing alcohol, different substances, getting messed up before he goes to practice. And here's what happens. Right before a matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, John Gruden and his offensive coordinator, Greg Olsen, spot Darren Waller working out. They see him working out. And I don't know if you guys have seen a picture of Greg Olsen, but he does sort of look like Sons of Anarchy. He's got that slick back hair. And so they go and they pluck him off the Ravens practice squad very quickly. And the guy goes out there in 2019. Antonio Brown's a disaster for the Raiders, never freaking plays. Derek Carr has no weapons in 2019, besides a young Hunter Renfrow who broke his ribs at one point in the season. And Darren Waller has a freaking career year, absolutely balls out in 2019, continues on that high career in 2020, and breaks the franchise record for the Raiders in receptions in a single year. And nobody should ever forget that. Who has the most receptions in a single season in Raiders history? It's not Devontae Adams. It's not Tim Brown. It's not any of these people you think it would be. It's Darren freaking Waller. It's Darren freaking Waller who holds this record. Most receptions in a Raiders season, 107 receptions in 2020. I just feel like we shouldn't forget that about Darren Waller right before we're talking about his downfall, man. I know that we're just supposed to pile on the guy because it looks like he's getting a divorce, looks like his career may be ending, but I'm not going to sit here and act like I did not think at one point. I will say at one point, I thought he could be the best player in the NFL. Not kidding.
I know Tim Brown. I got a great history with him, and I know what an unbelievable player he was. And when you start throwing around Tim Brown's name and you say you're breaking Tim Brown's record, you're in rare territory.
He works his tail off. He's freakishly talented.
He is the best pickup I've ever had, and it's hands down. He's got gold jacket ability. There's no doubt about it.
That's what John Gruden said. This guy had gold jacket ability, and it's because he's bigger than everybody on the football field on offense and is faster. Coached.
When I first got there, like off the practice squad, he was like, "You're gonna do great things for you. You're gonna be great." And it's just like I wasn't even thinking like that. And I was just like, "Let's just not fuck this up this time. Like let's just like."
If you look at where he caught passes, he caught him at wide receiver playing split end. He caught him as a flanker. He caught him in the slot. He caught him everywhere, and he ran all kinds of routes. A lot of guys can't even dream of doing what Darren Waller can do. He's the best player I've ever coached, so I'm going to continue to look for him.
I mean, Gruden said that. Gruden said he's the best player I've ever coached. Waller had confidence. Waller was calling himself one of the best players in the league. He had that swagger, and it just seems like he completely lost it.
People think I'm just still like a cute story. They think I'm like, oh man, like, he came back, like he's a drug addict, but I'm a great football player too.
No, now I'm trying to be the best player that this organization has ever had. Like those are the kind of things that I want to think about now.
I've never left a game feeling like this guy won. never felt that way.
This dude just like had so much swagger around then. And look, John Gruden ended up getting canceled in 2021. That's around the same time Waller started dealing with the IT band and then later on hamstring injuries. Did he get demotivated because his guy, John Gruden, was no longer there?
You had your best relationship coach-wise with?
I would say John Gruden. And it was just a lot of laughter, a lot of fun each and every day, a lot of energy, enjoy showing up to work. So I'll probably say Coach Gruden.
And maybe he lost that fun and that led to his demise. So you get traded from the Giants, from the Raiders for a 3rd round pick. He dealt with injuries last year. Daniel Jones, the quarterback of the Giants, was not available anyways for the majority of the season. So I don't really know if Darren Waller would have been balling out with Mr. Tommy DeVito. I don't know necessarily if that would have been the case. Darren Waller, going into this offseason, had been questioning retirement. We know this guy does self-help podcasts because of where he, how he came up dealing with those substance abuse issues, and also does rapping on the side. Is that getting in the way? Is that causing him to want to retire? Or does he no longer have love for the game because he's not having the most fun he ever had at work, which was when he was working with John Gruden? But the Giants GM is saying that the Giants are giving Darren Waller his time and space to decide on retirement. And is this really what you want to be doing as a GM? Giving a player space and time on their retirement before the freaking draft? That's going to mess up your draft board. If I'm a GM, I'm thinking, hey, let me know what you're planning on doing, bro, so I could draft your replacement. I don't have time for this. The cap situation is set up to where the Giants will lose $6 million against the cap even if Waller retires. Even if Waller retires, he still gets paid and the Giants lose cap space. So that sucks for them, really. Vic Tafur of The Athletic, a longtime Raiders reporter, talked to Darren Waller. Darren Waller told Vic Tafur that he's still undecided on if he wants to play or retire from the NFL, and he knows the Giants would probably want a decision before the draft, but he also doesn't want to put a hard deadline on himself. So Darren Waller doesn't want to put too much pressure on himself to decide as to what he wants to do. We still do not know if Darren Waller is going to retire. All the signs point to him retiring, considering the fact that your GM doesn't know. Seems like there's a lack of communication as to what you're going to do. No GM wants to give a player space. Darren Waller and Kelsey Plum, the WNBA star who was and still is employed by Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. Remember, Mark Davis owns the Las Vegas Aces and the Las Vegas Raiders, and it looks like they are filing for divorce after just 1 year of marriage. And obviously the Twitter comments are not going to hold back. They are going to throw their insults at you. They are going to roast you no matter what. That's Twitter for you. And you had this in the comments below already. This guy, all that testosterone between the both of them. So making fun of the fact that Kelsey Plum is a little tough compared to most women because she is an athlete, WNBA star. I mean, look, I'm not going to rag on her, but she has displayed some strength, which is great. You had her throwing a t-shirt at an event at a basketball game, the San Antonio Spurs, boom, launching that shirt, flinging it huge. I mean, if her and Darren Waller would have had kids, they would 100% have the next great quarterback. They would be able to produce the next Jaden Daniels for sure. So you have TMZ saying Darren Waller and Kelsey Plum are divorcing. It's rare, but they filed jointly today in Nevada. Waller and Plum have already agreed on how they'll split joint property, and there won't be spousal support either way. Marriage just ends after 13 months after they tied the knot. WNBA. Wow. I mean, look, in terms of splitting property and splitting finances, Darren Waller's bringing in the money. Okay. I mean, she is one of the best players in the WNBA, but WNBA, you don't get paid much. So Kelsey Plum is only making $200,000 a year. Honestly, that's a great salary, but for an athlete compared to somebody like Waller, like I said earlier, he still gets $6 million if he retires, and this dude's making $17 million a year. I mean, I don't know how this guy just leaves a lot of this on the table. You only get $6 million if you don't retire, $17 million if you just tough it out. If I was the dude, I would just tough it out and pick up this $17 million. But when you're talking about splitting assets between the two, I mean, she's definitely going to come up. She's reeling in 200,000. He's reeling in 17 million. You do the math and tell me who's going to come up in this divorce between Darren Waller and Kelsey Plum. Darren Waller is going to definitely have to let go of a mansion or two. So she posted this, and this has brought a lot of speculation as to what happened with their marriage. Why are they getting divorced? Did somebody cheat? Did somebody do something else? Or are they just splitting up? Is it mutual? Is it chill? We don't know. But these are all the theories that people are cycling with. And you have her posting this, and I want you guys to hear what she says, and then you tell me what you think is going on here. She says, I'm devastated. I walked through fire for that man, but now I see it's time to go. God has given me an incredible life, and I'm truly so grateful for the profound love from my family and friends. One day I'll share my story. Today is not that day. Thank you for the grace to process my pain, to forgive and move forward. Today and every day, I will continue to choose joy. Much love, KP, Kelsey Plum. What does this mean here? I'm picking up on some things. One day she'll share her story. Today is not the day, so she's not going to say what. Processing pain. It could just be pain because the marriage ended. That could be it. Forgive and move forward. That's telling me that he did something where she's having to forgive him, accept his apology. I don't know what Darren Waller did. How you dating a wash tight end on the Giants as the top 5 hottest in the WNBA? Look, I just, gave props to Darren Waller at the beginning. And part of the reason why I did that is because I'm watching everybody lay into this guy, pulling it straight out of their freaking ass as to what this guy did, even though they don't have a clue. And I'm watching everybody love up on Kelsey Plum like she's just the hottest person in the world. Like, look, dude, I'm a married man, married to a woman. I could judge couples and I could judge men and I think I could do this with a sober conscience, in terms of financials and in terms of looks. In Willie's opinion, Darren Waller is out of Homegirl's league, okay? Darren Waller is out of Homegirl's league for sure, in my opinion. The guy is making $17 million a year. So everybody's ragging on this guy, saying he's washed, claiming he cheated even though they don't know it, and claiming that he fumbled the bag big time. Now he's going to take a financial hit, splitting up property. People have joked around saying her eating the popcorn this way is what led to the divorce.
Enjoying the popcorn, apparently. The 2017 Wooden Award winner, Clark Kelsey.
She doesn't look too depressed. And this was taken recently. She doesn't look too sad. That this is not the face of somebody who's heartbroken and divorced. I mean, this is a very chipper, happy person compared to Miss Processing My Pain. You're processing your pain. I mean, it doesn't look like there's too much pain to process here. It's all I'm saying. You know what I mean? Anyways, and this is one of the people who's ripping into Darren Waller. This is a Giants content creator. Her name, I believe, used to be Big Blue Mal, but she changed her name to just Mal. Darren Waller, you absolute effing moron. And this Big Blue Mal or whatever, this is the same person who Kadarius Toney had to rip into. Kadarius Toney, a Chiefs wide receiver who's famous for yelling at Giants fans on Instagram. And this was the message. Toney sent her a picture of herself and said, "The F is this, ugly ass mother effer. Focus on lipo and some other shit instead of me." So that was Kadarius Toney ripping into Mal, a Giants content creator who is now ripping into Darren Waller here. And one of my favorite moments in history for this couple, a moment that I will never ever forget for the rest of my life, has to do with an old coach of the Raiders, Mr. Genius Josh McDaniels. I will never forget it, which is when RG3 talked about the fact that Josh McDaniels, the former head coach of the Raiders, traded Darren Waller to the Giants on their honeymoon. Well, Kelsey Plum is on her honeymoon with Darren Waller. They think they're going to live together in Las Vegas and be this happy couple. But then genius Josh McDaniels ships Darren Waller away to New York and he gets traded. RG3 made fun of this, saying Josh McDaniels is not romantic. And then she did the famous banger, probably because he wasn't invited to the wedding. Yes. Joked around about the fact that Josh McDaniels was not invited to her wedding. And that is why I always love this woman. As a Raiders fan, I will love any woman who rips into Josh McDaniels. And she did this when it was ballsy. She ripped into Josh McDaniels with this joke here when he was still employed by the Raiders, when we did not know he was going to be fired. This was March, right before the season in which he was eventually fired in October. She was premature. She did this 7 months ahead of time. So I will always salute Kelsey Plum for ripping into Josh McDaniels. And apparently Josh McDaniels did some weird shit where he leaked to the media that Darren Waller's wedding was happening when he was trying to keep it private. So Waller was really screwed over by Josh McDaniels in several ways, but maybe Josh McDaniels was trying to send Darren Waller a sign back then. Maybe he was trying to let him know, yo, you gotta cut bait, so I'm gonna blow this wedding up in the media. And maybe that was the cardinal sin that Waller committed. He did not invite his head coach at the time to the wedding. Maybe that ruined the wedding from the get-go. So to any player who's gonna get married out there in the future, even if you hate your head coach, which everybody hated Josh McDaniels, make sure to invite him to the wedding for good luck. You gotta do it for good luck.